Commander, you are a Death Knight, a champion of the grave. Today I'm going to show you how to play a Frost Death Knight the easy way, but before I do, let's take a look at how they work. Frost Death Knights use the icy grip of death to send their foes to a cold grave. You can choose to use a two-hander or you can dual wield, and in this guide we're going to cover both playstyles. If you are dual wielding, then your number one priority will be to use Soul Reaper, but only when your target is below 35% health. Next, you want to spend your runic power on Frost Strike, specifically when you have a killing machine proc, but you'll also want to make sure that you're not wasting runic power by letting it hit cap. Next, you'll want to use Obliterate when you have the unholy runes available, and feel free to use it with your killing machine proc if you have no runic power for Frost Strike. Next, you'll want to use Howling Blast whenever Rime procs. And lastly, you'll want to make sure that you keep your diseases up on the target at all times. If you're using Necrotic Plague, Howling Blast will cover this. If not, Howling Blast will cover Frost Fever, and you want to keep Blood Plague up with either Outbreak or Plague Strike. And that's a very simple rundown of the dual wielding rotation. The two-handed rotation really isn't all that different. Mainly, Frost Strike becomes much less of a priority and you'll never want to spend your killing machine proc on it. Otherwise, it's basically the same rotation. As for AoE in both situations, you're just going to follow your single target rotation, you'll just throw in a Death and Decay every now and then. And that's a very basic rundown on how to play a Frost Death Knight. It's pretty easy, and Frost Death Knights do a lot of damage. But if you're having a little bit of trouble with it, I can make it even easier for you. But just know, this is not for min-maxing or for hardcore raiders. This is for casual players, or for people with disabilities like myself. You will need a mod called Gnome Sequencer, which can be found on WoW Interface. There will be a link in the description below. So download it, unzip it, and place it in your add-ons folder. Now to make things easier, I have provided a file containing all of my macros designed for Gnome Sequencer. You can find a link to it in the description below. The file is called sequences.lua, so download it and place it in the Gnome Sequencer folder that you just put in your add-ons folder. If you followed all of these steps correctly, you're ready to log into the game and create the macros. Now that you have Gnome Sequencer set up with my sequences file, you are ready to begin making macros in game. It is important that you give the macros the names that I tell you, and that you do not put any text in the macro field. Just name them and place them on your action bar, and Gnome Sequencer will do the rest. The first macro is called DK Frost, and it'll cover almost your entire rotation. The second macro is called DK Frost SR. It'll do the same thing, but it adds Soul Reaper to the mix, so you'll want to use it at 35% health. Because this is all about keeping things simple, these macros are designed around Necrotic Plague. They will start off by using Outbreak and use it every time it's on cooldown to help ensure that Necrotic Plague is up. Otherwise, they'll spend your runes on Obliterate and your runic power on Frost Strike. The macros will also use Unholy Blight if you've chosen that talent, which is a great combination with Necrotic Plague. And they use Remorseless Winter, which is great for CCing a lot of the ad encounters. The only ability that you'll want to cast separately is Howling Blast. Again, you'll use Howling Blast whenever Rime procs. The biggest downside to these macros is that they will leave you runic power starved very often, which isn't always best. Also, they are going to spend your killing machine procs on whatever comes up first, which is more of a problem for two-handed players. So as always, if you want to get the most out of your class, then you're definitely going to want to play the normal way. Still, because Death Knights have such forgiving rotations, you'll get a lot of damage out of them, even with using these macros. And that's pretty much how I play a Frost Death Knight. If you're interested, feel free to give it a try. So if you enjoyed this video, let me know by hitting that like button, or even the favorite button. And if you found it informative, perhaps you'd like to inform your friends by sharing it with them. And don't forget to subscribe if you'd like to see future videos on this channel. Thanks for watching, have a wonderful day, this is TheKephas, until next time.